Hi everybody, Msfs here. So, welcome back to the NASCAR series for the 2025 season for Walker Air Transport. So we're here. It's going to be our second flight with the Longitude. I'm pretty sure this is going to become our go-to charter aircraft because it's not going to require a whole lot of thought as far as can I make things. It's got a much longer range than the CJ4. I think it's almost double. And very similar handling characteristics, and actually I think flies a little bit better. The only thing I ran into last episode was I could not deploy full flaps with my Thrustmaster flight stick yoke, throttle combo, my HOTAS. It just didn't work. I had to manually go full flaps. But I was able to do it, so it wasn't the end of the world, and we'll see if, maybe that was some sort of a hiccup or not. So as always, before I get going, if you enjoy this as we continue on and work through these, please consider liking and subscribing. Those things are very important to the channel and help it grow and help us get noticed, which are all wonderful things. So we're set, or our thought is we're going to be coming off of runway 19er, which is over that way. I apologize, it does kind of remember where things are for a while longer than it should. So let's see, when are we close enough to the chocks? There we go. I got a little messed up. I looked at the paint on top last time and thought I had a problem. I don't know why I was outside, maybe because I was there last time. I did simply end the flight and then continue here, so alright, looks like external power is available. So that will help. Alright, ground spoiler failed. Let's get our trim adjusted here, because some of that should start to work in a bit. We'll get our emergency lights armed. Definitely a lot more comfortable with this plane at this point. Let's see. So we're going to want to start the APU. That'll get us going. I know this flight is pretty short, as you can see, about 190 nautical miles, so a little bit longer. If you're unfamiliar with the US and how this works, we basically flew south down here to Florence last leg when we left Martinsville and came down to Darlington. We are now going to be taking our VIPs from Darlington over to Bristol, which is in the northeast corner of Tennessee, which is northwest of here. So we're basically heading back up, but we're going a bit west. So 3 tracks very close together. NASCAR kind of got its roots and has really been centered in the southeast United States. Over the years, as they've grown in popularity, they've definitely added more tracks. So, there's things in Texas, there's things out, obviously, in California, this, that. This year we're going to be going to Mexico for a race. So definitely some things that are a little unique. But let's go ahead and get ourselves set here with our flight plan. So Kilo Foxtrot Lima Oscar is where we're at. We are going to the Tri-Cities Airport. So there are, along with Bristol, there is Johnson City and Kingsport are all really close in Tennessee there. And that airport really services all of that space. And there's probably several 100,000 people that have some easy access to that. So let's go ahead and look at our procedures. And we're going to go ahead, we're going to do an ILS approach on 2-3. and we're going to use HMV. We're going to set our minimums to 200, which is standard, and we're going to load. We'll be good there. So Holston mount, and then Verrill, Toka. Not sure. Procedure turn. I don't know what that is, but I'm thinking this is. Oh, I see. I'm thinking this is. I don't know that we need. We're going to remove this waypoint. We're going to remove this waypoint because I think that's just if we're you know, going around. So I think we're okay there. We go from Mocha, then down to runway 23. So should be good there. Okay, en route, just pulling up my sim brief here. We've got a few waypoints. So we're going to do Warner. So Southeast US, that's helpful. Our flight level, that's really high, but I guess we'll go with it. Whoops, flight level 320. All right. And then we're adding another waypoint of Colid. And then one more of Zugat, and that will get us on our flight plan as filed. So, alright, so it looks like we're going to start descending. At that point, we'll be at 8,000 at HMV, above 4,000 at Verrill, and then down to 3,500 at Mocha is the plan. So let's just make sure. Looks like we've got a solid red line, so that's good. We're going to get the flight director on. We're going to get nav on. Likely, whoops, altimeter. We're going to likely get cleared to say 4,000. Let's get to the fine tuning. You got to press the altimeter knob to adjust that here. Alright, so we don't have any problems. Everything's on. Parking brake on. Engine shutdown. No standby data. No takeoff. Just because of where we're sitting. Let's go ahead and see if we can get ready to get cleared and get going. We need to be on 121.9. So let's get that dialed in. 1219. Transfer. Florence clearance, Walker 4021, requesting IFR to Tri-Cities. We had problems with say intentions last time, so hopefully we won't have a problem. And it's definitely not boding well. Alright, so digging around a little bit, unfortunately it does look like Say Intentions is having an issue. They're troubleshooting it with someone in the partners lounge. I am a partner as well, so I can see that. But they're doing a lot of things that honestly I'd rather not be doing. You know, they've like revoked their partner status to see if they can hear, because it seems to be a problem. Well, they're trying to figure out if it's just a problem with partners. So we'll see if that comes back later. I don't have to fly another flight after this that's going to be on the channel, so I'll certainly wait. But at this point, I will get this one done we're just going to do it without ATC. What that probably will mean is I'll just get myself off the ground. We'll step away. We'll kind of keep this short because there's not going to be a whole lot to listen to and work with. So let's get things going here. We'll get that engine turned on. We'll get the starter going. You can hear it revving up. Okay, we're going to get our flaps down. You can hear those move. They move quite quickly. So, can't totally or easily tell, I guess. Let's see. Let me try to not make all of us sick, but yeah, they are extended. So just giving us a little bit more surface area, which theoretically would give us a little bit more lift and all that. Alright, so yeah, I just flew this. 3030 is still the altimeter or the barometer, so I would expect that to not be any different. It's interesting that this isn't on, because I did have that at one point, so I'm wondering if it's because I don't have all the engines on. But we'll get that going, and now we'll fire up the other engine. Alright, should be good there. You can see everything's starting to come to life. And if we go over here to aircraft systems, electrical, we should see things in pretty good shape. Everything's up and so forth. So at this point we can turn the APU off. Whoops. But interesting that, yeah, this is not appearing. Didn't really use it, but it was operating for me in the last flight, so I don't know if I should be concerned or not. But in any event, at this point, we've got our trim set, we've got everything else set, we are ready to go, so we are going to go ahead and get ourselves to the runway and kind of do whatever we want to do, right? Because who's going to stop us? We have no ATC. Alright, so like we said, we're taking off on 19, which is going to be behind us. But we're going to get moving here. Again, we're a little large, and yes, we are just going to ignore these people because they don't go anywhere. They're kind of like scenery, so. But 19 is over behind us. At least this plane fits, so my thing is, like, when we've got to fly over to the West Coast again, and honestly, even when we fly to Mexico, like, I think we'll be able to use this plane. You know, we'll see where we're taking off when we have to go to Mexico City, because I know Mexico City is a large airport, but we may still be taking off from a relatively small one. But we've just got 22 nautical miles to Warner, so that isn't that far away. So I'm also going to go ahead and just dial in my altitude, because there's not really a reason to be playing any kind of games. Not really games, but you know, if I don't have ATC, giving me clearance at certain points, there's not really a reason to worry about that. So you can see the windsock moving a little bit, so looks like 180 at 7 knots, so obviously 19 on the runway would be perfect. We'll be almost going directly into the wind. But at this point, let's get our landing lights on. And let's get lined up. And let's get off. Alright, here we go. So I was surprised how quickly this plane will stop. So that was really, really nice. A lot of tire, a lot of rubber on the runway here. But there we go. It kind of starts to take off on its own, which is always a great thing. It's always nice when a plane is nice and responsive like that. So we will do that. We'll get flight level change. We'll get our flaps up. And looks like it set flight level change from 200, which is okay, but this should get us moving pretty quickly. There's the airport. That's the runway we came from. That's where we were parked. Taxied out. And here we go. So we're basically turning around. Definitely a nice view and a great plane to move around in. So the nice thing is, and I think it is part of the fact that I bought more than the standard package, so I don't know that the longitude is included in aircraft otherwise, but it was not a plane I had available to me in 2020, so I have definitely enjoyed this, now being my second flight, but I love having this plane. I don't know that I could say anything else. I'm very impressed with it at this point. Okay, why is the flight level changed? Like, why is it 250 now? I don't understand. Like, I thought flight level change was supposed to lock in, and then maybe it's because it shouldn't exceed, because yes, otherwise you're damn near going vertical. Alright, this is really odd. Because it's like flight level change 270. I mean, yes, it's kind of locked us in on the green line, which is great. But, yeah, I don't know. Not sure what's happening, but we are probably 17 miles or so. Yep, 16. Was just kind of eyeballing it on the chart to Warner, but we're targeting 320. That's how I entered it. I think we can make it. Find out. If not, obviously we'll make it when we can make it. But so yeah, I'd say a little odd behavior with the flight level change, because I'm used to flight level change grabbing, you when you hit it, it locks the speed in, and then basically any power over that ends up being used to climb. So, but we're more than halfway up to our cruising altitude, so if nothing else, that is a good thing. At this point, we're a long way from Florence. We're about 10, 11 miles away already. So yeah, I'm not sure that we're going to make 32,000 by the time we get there. But obviously we're entering that in to try to get as far as we can. Again, this is like the appropriate level. It's just we're climbing, so it's a little harder to see. So yeah, the one thing I did learn is we can, oh, this one doesn't do it, but, oh, okay, so you can do the COM1 frequencies there. You can do range here, so each of these does something a little bit different. Alright, so we're at like 40, yeah, 80, about 80 miles out. So on a 200-mile flight, like, that's probably reasonable. But yeah, we're 4 miles away. We've only gone up like 4,000 in the last 4 miles, so I assume we'll be at 27 or 28 by the time we hit Warner. So, because the challenge is it's harder for the plane to climb, I assume, to some degree, because the air is thinner. So you just are generating less lift, and so it does get harder and harder to climb, which is will be interesting, because the CJ4 had a really hard time getting to 40,000 feet, and a lot of times SimBrief wants it to fly at that level. I don't know if the longitude will have an easier job of it. I mean, climbing at 3,400 is still pretty good, but we're also not near 40,000. We're just approaching 30,000, and you can see it continues to fall down pretty quickly. Now we're down to 3,150 for our climb. It looks like maybe we're settling in. No, now it's 3,100. But we did go up about 1,000, but now we're down to 3. So we'll see if it stays, because I think a typical airliner will do like 2,500. So this was still a faster rate of climb than you're normally getting. But obviously it's a much lighter plane as well. So you would expect that it would do that. But yeah, now in Khalid it needs to get, you know, it'll get there for sure. We've got 50 miles, and you know, we are falling down to that 2,500 though, so. But yeah, if it could establish itself at a certain level for a little while, that would be nice, but when we take longer flights and maybe it tries to get us up there, you know, that'll be good. So Khalid is really going to have us a little bit northeast of Charlotte. But at this point, now it's just a matter of, again, getting our ground speed up. So we were traveling at about 460 when we were flying last time, but we were going south. So we'll see if we get anywhere near that heading in this direction, because we can settle in at about 300 something, and you can see we're only at 433. So I'm thinking we're gonna be down at least 20 on the ground speed, and that seems about right. So I think, although we were at like 82, but again, that was obviously we're flying into a headwind now, I would think, is what we've got. I'm sure on some display I could see that, but about 86, 87. Might have gone down too far here. So let me goose that up a little bit. No, now we're going right back to 86.7. So, but yeah, looks like right around 440. So we're gonna settle in here. Just quick view out the window. But I'm gonna settle in for the flight here. We've still got another 147 miles, and we will rejoin as we get closer. So I'll see you in a bit. So we had just flown over Charlotte, or near Charlotte Speedway, so that was the few seconds of view that I gave you there. We're still a little ways away from the top of the descent. Basically going to be right at Lugat there, so we got about 40 miles. So I'll see you in a little bit, but wanted to share the Speedway overflight and the view, because that's certainly pretty cool if we're in a NASCAR series. Okay, so we're coming up here, getting close to the top of descent, about 65 miles away from the airport at this point, just making the turn, and we should be dropping down shortly after that. So we were just at Darlington. Denny Hamlin won again. We seem to be having this pattern of repeat winners, so we'll see, how things play out. Let's back off a little bit now that we're starting our descent, because we don't want to overspeed, certainly. But we need to get ourselves down. I've got myself dialed in, as you can see, to 3,000. But we're heading to Bristol Motor Speedway, Thunder Valley. One of the more iconic tracks on the NASCAR circuit. One certainly on my bucket list, and I'm hopeful that I will be able to get to a race there, maybe even this year in the fall. So we shall see, but I'm not really going to start looking into that until things get a little closer. But we'll be significantly closer to that location than we are now, so that makes it a lot more possible to, maybe see a lot of races there. We'll see. We'll see how things go, but we've got to get in. You can see, we're already seeing what we're at, but yeah, there will be a pretty sharp turn to get us into the airport. And again, Mocha is kind of where we're at, and then you can see the RW for runway. So, airport's there, just about 50 miles away now. But we've already gone down 5,000 feet, so we definitely have a nice descent rate. And we'll start, just continuing to decelerate. It just, we've got some kind of a line there that looks... there's no way we could see a runway from 25,000 feet, unless it was just gigantic. But, that's not what we've really got. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we're still in North Carolina, and it's a pretty small area up there, the little point of Tennessee. And again, Bristol is right on the border of Virginia and Tennessee, so we're going to be right at the north end there. And we'll be returning, as I said, to Bristol back in the fall, in September. But that'll be several months away. And Charlotte we'll be visiting a couple times this year. So that speedway we overflew, we'll be taking our VIPs to a few races there as well as the year progresses. So, and I also think we just passed North Wilkesboro off to the, it's kind of behind us now, but that's also relatively close to Charlotte. So as I said, lots of NASCAR in the southeast United States. So, alright, we still, got 11,000 feet until we really need to slow down, so we'll let this keep moving, because that'll just make the flight shorter, because we're obviously covering more ground faster. But, yeah, coming down. And so, yeah, definitely now I can see the border. It was harder to tell on Navigraph because it didn't have any names. But we're coming up on it. Mountains around here, about 4,000 to 5,000 feet. Mount LeConte in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, which will be west of here, is one of the taller peaks in the area, and I think that ends up being like 6,500 to 6,600 feet. So that's about as high as things get. I'm not sure what that is, but obviously pretty visible. It says something about Banner Elk River, so I don't know if that's really part of an airport there, and it's maybe a nature area that folks head to, and so it's on the map, but yeah, we have not quite crossed the border yet. That lake is across the border in Tennessee already, so, but we'll be kind of overflying a leg of that, heading in to the area. So, but HMV, our next point is Holston Mountain. So Elizabethan, Johnson City, those are some of the airports around the area there. So, you know, smaller ones than the Tri-Cities airport, but getting close. So we want to be at what? We're going to be at about 8,400 or so, it says, by HMV is what we're targeting. But beautiful country for sure. It's one of the reasons we're trying to kind of get into the area here, because it's really, really nice. So, somewhere my wife and I have always wanted to retire, and luckily we've been blessed enough that we're going to be able to make that happen. So, looking forward to the transition in the next few months. So, very exciting. Adds a bit of interest to flying in here for sure. But I've definitely been around this area. Drove through a few times. Actually stopped outside Bristol. I've never been inside the walls. I've seen it multiple times from outside. So always kind of been like, oh, that'd be wonderful. But it just has not happened yet. Alright, 5 miles away, so we're getting close. Whoop. We gotta really slow down here. We're gonna be exceeding the speed. I don't know that we'll slow down fast enough. It could happen, but my guess is it won't happen. No, it won't. We're gonna be over speeding, so hopefully that won't be too devastating. But again, trying to get to 8,400. I assume that will happen. But yes, we have now crossed the border. So, I think we've got, yeah, somewhere in there is Elizabethan. Johnson City is kind of in that location there. And then you just kind of head down further, but you know, Bristol, Kingsport, we've kind of got, you know, not quite as many mountains, but a little bit. Alright, so we should, yeah, we're past HMV, now we're going to Verrill, 3.5 miles. We want to be above 6,000 feet at Verrill, so I'm sure we're not going to have any trouble with that. Boy, I am coming in hot. I'm hoping we should be fine. Because again, once we start lowering our flaps, I'm just trying to be realistic here and not lower the flaps earlier than I should. But yeah, we've got a little bit more distance from Verrill to Mocha. But yeah, I mean, I am throttle off here, so we're going to lower the flaps one. That will bring us down. And now, you know, we should lose speed. Well, we should lose speed somewhat quickly. It's not really happening. I mean, we did go down 20, but we would have expected a little bit more. So Mocha is bottom of descent within a minute. I guess let me make sure that I want to be there. So Mocha, yeah, Mocha's 3,600, so alright, now we'll go flaps 2. That should really start pulling some speed off. But yeah, I think it's just starting to make the turn. And that's the issue, is like we're gonna lose some distance. I mean, we are 6 miles from the airport here. Alright, landing gear is down, so calm down. Okay. Yes, we don't want no throttle, but we do need to slow down here. Alright, let me get the approach on. We should lock in a bit here. I am surprised that this has not... I guess we're above it, so, but there's the airport. Alright, let me speed up a little bit here. But we should hopefully get the localizer locked in and then hit the glide slope at some point. We did come in pretty low. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Oh, it has an auto. Interesting. Alright. Yeah, I don't need auto throttle now. Alright, so... Whoops. We'll bring this down. And we'll see. Now we just gotta pay attention to what we've got going on. So there is an auto throttle. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that. Because that would make this a lot closer to an airliner than I thought it was. Okay, I think we're well below the glide slope. I mean, we never caught the localizer, so... we may not, but you can see we're below the glide slope. Again, we've got to be careful with the airspeed. Alright, now we're higher. Like we should, or lower, we should be coming in at a different angle. But yeah, I've never flown into this airport. I just know, you know, it's kind of the place you can go. They don't have a lot of direct flights outside of the southeast U.S., but they are
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
We're flaring quite a bit here. Alright, nose down. We didn't bounce, so that's good. I'd say that was a good landing. And again, we've obviously got the hangar right there. I wish we had ATC and all that. That would make this a bit more interesting, but we can only do what we can do, right? So we're going to head this way, because obviously we've got the control tower and stuff over there. But welcome to the Tri-Cities, and here in beautiful northeast Tennessee, where our VIPs will be spending a couple weeks. So if you had to pick a place, I was looking through the schedule as we were flying. There are no other off weeks this season, this NASCAR season. So this will be the only 2-week stop for these folks. They could certainly have picked worse places. So if I were them, I'd be pretty excited. It's a beautiful area. As you can see, we'll kind of get down a little closer to ground level. You know, again, Bristol's a little further away from the mountains. You can see them out in the distance. You know, but certainly if they're hanging around, if they got a rental car and they want to go look around, they definitely have some places to go and things to see if they love nature and things like that. So let's get ourselves shut down once I just entirely verify. Yep, it looks like everything looks good for my tracking. Yeah, I panicked a little bit where I was like, oh my goodness, I forgot to start the flight, but thank goodness the way it works now. So engines are winding down. They don't spin, I guess. You can hear them, but they're clearly, the fans aren't turning. So maybe they don't have that modeled quite the way you do in some other things, because you obviously heard the noise of it winding down and all that. But yeah, so we are here. That is just a beautiful, beautiful picture, beautiful view. So love the plane, love the mountains. So if you've enjoyed this, definitely, again, another reminder, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Those things are greatly appreciated. We will be gone now for, well, it's just going to be a week in real time, because I think this is coming out, yeah, it's Easter weekend's coming up. So I don't know though if I'll have these out on Friday. I probably will. They're pretty short and there's not much editing that goes in, because we're just flying, and I almost treat them as streams, because to some degree they are, other than I'm not streaming. But we'll go ahead and work through the little bit of editing we need, get them rendered, get them uploaded, and if they don't appear Friday, they will appear Saturday. And so you'll have these, and then the following Saturday we will have our next on time or real time, as it goes. I mean, it's not going to be a stream, so I don't want to get people excited. We don't have the viewership. That's part of why I'm asking for likes and subscribes. You know, if I was large enough that I'd have 20 or 30 people showing up on a stream, that would probably make it worth it to try to do that sometimes. But we're not even close, and I think even at 5,000 subscribers, that wouldn't be the case. I think we have to get 10,000 or more, and then, you know, we'll probably start looking at, do live streams start to make sense for the channel, because we might have enough viewership that, you know, 5 people might show up or something. So you guys let me know. You know, if I get 5 or 10 of you saying, oh yeah, I'd be there, I'll be there, you know, if you did one and did it on a weekend, you know, I'm not opposed to it. I just have tried it in the past, and it does take more work than obviously just going ahead and doing what we're doing. So therefore, you know, if nobody's on with me and it's just as if I'm flying on my own, having gone through all that extra effort doesn't really make a lot of sense. So, but with that, we're going to step away here, and I will see you next time.